Fishing the Wild West TV with Wes David is brought to you by Sandy Point Resort. Experience Sandy Point Resort's year-round lifestyle on the shores of Gull Lake in central Alberta. Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Adventure Destination International. Book your trip of a lifetime with Adventure Destination International and Thompson's Camps. Along with Cam Clark Ford, the official vehicle of Fishing the Wild West TV.
Fishing the Wild West TV has the good fortune of fishing water bodies throughout North America. However, a grin always comes across my face when I know we're heading to Saskatchewan. Beautiful Saskatchewan has over 100,000 lakes to fish, and many of them are right in central Saskatchewan. Watch this week's episode as we touch on a few amazing drive-to lakes in central Saskatchewan. Now, one thing I get asked a lot is when you're bottom bouncing, is how fast do you bottom bounce? And there's no right or wrong answer, because you could be going into the wind, with the wind, against the wind, across the wind, but I like my bouncer to hit every 2.5 to 3 feet. I use a 2-ounce bouncer in this scenario, and I like it to, if this was the bottom, I like it to hit every 2.5 to 3 feet, and that's really important when you're bottom bouncing, is to feel the bottom. You have to have bottom contact. You may have to slow your speed, increase your speed, but you have to feel that bouncer. You have to feel it hitting the bottom. This is one thing when you go on vacation or you got a weekend fishing trip planned and the wind comes up like this, you can use the wind to your advantage and find an area of the lake with rocks or a hard, sharp shoreline that's the wind is pushing against, and then you can come up here and like I say, these walleye would be up feeding on minnows that are coming away from the rocks. And you can see them here on the graph, they're stacked up. Finally, just hit anchor or spot lock on the tracker and try to keep him out of the motor. It caught him under the boat, really. Oh, he's fighting. Now, I think he's a perfect eater size walleye. I like to eat walleye anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 2.5 pounds are my favorite size to eat. And this guy falls right in that category. Hook fell out of him. That's a perfect size eater. Beautiful fillets on both sides, probably 1.5 pounds, maybe a little better. We'll put him in the live well and we'll have him for supper. We'll show you how to fillet them, and you know, there's many ways to cook walleye, and in my opinion, they're my favorite freshwater fish to eat. You can see on the fish finder, we're right coming up on top of a hill and it's marking a fish. I expect that fish to bite now, right now. That's good electronics. These hummingbirds are amazing. You can still see there's more fish down there. I caught him. I've got them all stirred up. Get this fish landed and go down for another one. And again, we're not out here, these aren't huge trophy walleye, but they'll be trophy walleye on the supper plate. Hearty, lots of heart in them. Oh yeah, perfect for the cast iron frying pan. Simple bottom bouncing. Got my blades. I tie these blades all winter long. When I'm watching hockey, tie my bottom bouncers, and I'm good for the summer. I use a slow death mustad hooks. I get all my stuff from Bass Pro to tie my bouncers. And that's the results of tying your own bottom bouncer. Kind of like the fly fishermen tie their own flies. The rewards, here's the rewards for walleye anglers tying their own bottom bouncers.
This segment has been brought to you by Lynn Thompson Lures, Canadian made for over 90 years, and Rock Guard, protect your investment. Closed captioning is brought to you by Buzz Bomb Tackle, iconic sonic fishing lures, made in North America for over 50 years.
Again, making sure you maintain bottom contact is key. And if you're not familiar with bottom bouncing, like I explained, you gotta feel the bottom, and then you gotta have to understand the difference between a bite and the difference between your bottom bouncer hitting the bottom. You don't want to be setting the hook on it every time. The bouncer will actually set the hook for you. So once your rod loads up and pulls, kind of do a sweep and start reeling them in. But if you can see right now, I got one following and biting at my bait, but he's not committing. And I'm coming down a hill here. I'm gonna have to let out some more line. And I'm trolling right now at exactly 1 to 1.2 miles an hour. And if I come off bottom, if I don't let out line, I come off bottom, I'll get no bites. Have to maintain bottom contact. Another thing that's important is I never troll just in a straight line. I always kind of zigzag and go up onto structure, come off a structure. And you'll notice a lot of times, there he is, they'll take it when you're coming up the hill. Sometimes they'll want it when you're going down the hill. So it's just, and that's something you got to pay attention to, because you don't know until you start getting a few bites. And this one feels like a better fish. This one might be a little too big for an eater. He's just thumping, trying to get his belly back on the bottom. From this point on, just like any other style of fishing, you don't want to give him any slack line. Keep the line tight, let your equipment do the work. He's pulling hard. Just take your time. Saskatchewan is one of my favorite freshwater fisheries in the world. 112,000 lakes. Surely we can catch a fish. See my bouncer. Man, is he thumping. Yeah, this is a good fish. Oh. Get him in the boat, we'll show him to you. He come in 21 feet of water. And he hit like he's supposed to. He didn't play around, he hit it. Probably a 2.5 pounder, beautiful colors. That one caught me a little off guard. Oh, that is awesome. He hit it hard. They're no nibbling. He hit it. Out here in the wind. Sometimes the wind can be your friend. Again, rocks, walleye chop as they call it, and walleye. He's really trying to get to the bottom. I really like, for this style of fishing or whenever you're fighting, I like the longer butt of the rod so I can use my forearm. My whole arm can become part of the fight, because really all your rod is an extension of your arm. So you can get your whole arm, let your equipment do the work. You don't want your drag set too tight. I have 10-pound Bass Pro braid on here, using the Carbon Light, Johnny Morris Carbon Light, and rod end reel. I just got a glimpse of them. This is a really big walleye. This fish might be 10 pounds. Holy cow. This might be a 10-pound walleye. That's what hit her out here in 21 feet of water. I didn't weigh him enough. We'll get him back in the water right away, but it's about 6 or 7 pounds. That is a beautiful walleye. And again, that is a walleye you would never eat or keep out of the water too long. That is a beautiful walleye.
This segment has been brought to you by Hooked Magazine, hooked on fishing in the great outdoors, and Big Sky Flies and Jigs. This segment is brought to you by Lucky Bug Lures. Get hooked on Lucky Bug Lures. And Tourism Saskatchewan. Start planning your visit today.
No, he's back. Holy cow, I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's just like he's grabbing it and just tugging on the back end of the night crawler. They're following it. So again, these could be those ones that are hitting it. They're actively feeding. They're positive feeding walleye. The ones that are kind of following it and taking their time, they could be negative fish turning neutral, and it's coming by them and they're just kind of, they're interested, but they're not committing. But you can still catch neutral feeding walleye, and you're going to pick up your active feeding walleye as you go through them. Like that one. The wind's gonna maybe turn me around here. 10 feet of water, this one. I'd come up, there's a hill here. It's like a big hill. We go out into 25 feet of water and we come up, this one's in 10 feet of water, and they all been coming between 10 and 16 feet. Again, that's where that zigzagging comes in and will tell you where your fish are. Man, I love the fight of any species really, but walleye's my bread and butter. See that bouncer popped right out of them. They're not biting it real hard. That's a great walleye. One more on. Oh, he's not happy about it. I had to change my bouncers because I caught a pike and he cut it off. But they seem to really be liking the silver and gold blades. And it doesn't seem to matter whether I'm using live night crawlers or the Bass Pro plastics. Tangled up here a little bit. Perfect little guy. We'll let him go. Away he goes to the bottom.
Conservation Corner is brought to you by Brian Muir with IA Securities, aligning your financial future so you can spend more time outdoors.
Now, if you're transporting fish to go home from province to province, or actually it doesn't matter, if you're transporting fish from your local lake to your house, you have to leave a 1-inch patch of skin on there. So if you're stopped, the conservation officers can tell what species it is just by the color or the patch of the skin left on them. And it's the law. You have to have that, and it has to be visible. So when you package it up, just make sure one of your fillets shows that 1 inch of skin. And you won't get any trouble going home with your limit of fish. Now we've just filleted our limit of walleye. We're going back to the cabin. We're going to have a shore lunch in the comforts of the cabin. Now these fillet shacks have been built beautiful. So it's our responsibility after we use it. There's no way you can't not make a mess if you're filleting fish. We have that here. They have everything here. Water, brush, clean it all up, leave it clean for the next person. These were built for us, and it's up to us to take care of it. And if you want to eat organic, book a fishing trip in Saskatchewan and enjoy some great walleye fishing.
Fishing the Wild West TV will be right back. This segment is brought to you by the Canadian National Sportsman Shows and Wild Rose Brewery, branded with character.
Oh, that's a great feeling. Now this time, instead of hitting anchor, I just put it in neutral and just let the wind push us. Yeah, he's a great walleye. But I think all walleyes are great. Again, now that one come on the Bass Pro Plastics. That's a great eater walleye. We're using this one here is the paddle tail grub, XPS Bass Pro Angler, and they're hitting it. He is a perfect size for eating, and we're gonna perfectly eat him.
This Gear Talk is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
All right, we just had an incredible day here in central Saskatchewan on the water. We've got ourselves a limit of walleye. We're going to use the combo fish tool from Lucky Bug. So this is incredible little invention. Bonker, don't need to tell you what that's for. From there comes a part. It's a great fillet knife. Also here has a sharpener. All this is built in to the tool. So we're going to fillet a few fish here that we've kept. Now that's what you're going to get. Beautiful boneless walleye fillets. Combo multi-fish tool. Don't go fishing without it. So as you've seen, we just had an incredible day on the water, bottom bouncing for walleye. We got some perfect eating walleye here. Unfortunately, the wind came up and we got blown off. We were hoping to have a shore lunch, or do it ourselves, shore lunch. And because we got blown off, we're gonna have it at home. So we got our onions and potatoes going. Brown beans are warming up. We got our skillet there heating up. Now, I've dumped some of the Bass Pro batter into this bag. I'm just gonna take some nice fillet of walleye. Dump it in there. Salt and pepper, some batter. That's all you really need. So again, my fillets, my walleye fillets went in here damp. You can even, Wild Rose Brew, you can dampen them up with some beer. And then get your skillet nice and hot. Drop them in there, lay them flat. And again, I cook with butter. Sometimes so much butter that there's no nutritional value left in the fish. Golden brown on the back side that's been down on the skillet. Okay, so our walleye fillets have a minute left. So I'm just going to take our onions and potatoes, start dishing up our plate. Scoop of cowboy beans. Then take that butter, douse it on there, maybe throw a little on your potatoes. There's nothing like eating organic with a Wild Rose Brew, fresh walleye fillet. I hope you can now see why the province of Saskatchewan is one of my favorite freshwater fisheries. Grab a rod and reel and go fishing. I'm your host, Wes David, Fish in the Wild West TV. Join us next week for another great fishing adventure. Now this fish's been on the second side, probably 3 minutes, and you can see the pores here starting to open up, starting to come apart. Give them just a minute or two more. You can even clip them one more time again, but don't like to disturb them too much. They're sitting in there. Instead of flipping them, you can conceal the heat in there all the way around it, kind of like a Dutch oven.